Here with Randy, the Natural Couture. You're a guy that I looked up to fighting, having a wrestling background. I was a wrestler, UFC Hall of Famer, the first 2-division champion, light heavyweight, heavyweight, 6-time UFC champion. Is that correct?
Yeah, 6. So they say 5 a lot of times in the stats because they don't count the interim championship,
Really?
But they gave me a belt, so it counts.
Yeah,
in
how
my
are they
mind.
not going to count it if they put a belt on the line?
Yeah,
I'd say 6.
They did that interim thing, I think, just because they thought it sold more pay-per-views. It got more attention because it was still a title fight.
But they are putting a belt up, so how can they not count it?
Yeah.
I think it's a little weird, honestly, but they do it. So.
I always count it.
Yeah, 6-time champion, first 2-division champion. That's a big deal. It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, I think Nunes and Connor held 2 divisions at the same time. But I came down from my first half of my career was heavyweight. Lost a couple fights in the heavyweight division. Lost to Josh Barnett and then Rico Rodriguez. And
these are big guys.
Yeah, they were big guys, and that was the trend in the heavyweight division. They weren't just big guys anymore. They were actually skilled. They could move. Josh Barnett, very good grappler
and striker,
and can move. And the same with Rico Rodriguez. He could move as a big guy at 280 pounds, and that was the trend in the heavyweight division. I threw my hat in the ring at light heavyweight. Said, hey, I can make light heavyweight, fight guys my own size if that was an opportunity. And they scheduled me to fight Orlovsky.
Wow.
That was the last fight of my contract. I think they were thinking they were going to get rid of me finally. Then Andre broke his hand 3 weeks before that fight was supposed to happen. What was interesting about that is my son was actually born the night that fight was supposed to happen.
Wow, that's crazy.
So I would have missed my son's birth.
That's how crazy fighting
that fight
is.
stayed on.
Some of these sacrifices we've made to miss things like that.
And they came back. They said, look, Andre's got a broken hand. We can't find a replacement. You mentioned you'd be willing to come down to light heavyweight. You want to fight Chuck for their interim title. Chuck and Tito aren't getting along. They won't fight each other, or Tito won't fight Chuck anyway. For his shot at the title, we want to strip Tito. Would you fight Chuck for their interim
So that
title?
was the interim one.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Definitely should have counted as a...
Yeah, I'll fight Chuck. Sure, I'll come down to 205. I can make that easy, like I said, and that was the first Chuck fight. And obviously, Chuck well.
Trilogy. Yeah, he's one of my best
obviously
friends.
my favorite of the 3 fights, the one I won. But,
but it was just such an epic trilogy with you guys. It was, and luckily you guys never
such
had
an
any bad
amazing
blood.
competitor, and
So competitive.
I think we really, through that process of that first fight, I think he made some serious adjustments to his fighting style, because I don't think he expected me to kind of meet him in the middle and try and hit him first. To, like most guys, they respected his striking.
Yeah.
They stayed away from him, which gave him that distance and timing to land those shots.
I should have touched up on your fights for that, because I know a lot about your career, but I didn't touch up right before, but you came in like throwing it.
Yeah, I came in throwing, faking that takedown and throwing that overhand right. I hit him with that a couple times. I ended up taking him down with a big double off the fence and put him on the ground, and then it took him down again in the second. I just had to make friends with the possibility this guy was going to knock me out.
He's got heavy knockout power.
Yeah,
the overhand and the hook. So
showed that time and time again. Yeah, for sure. So, but then in the second and third fights, he didn't. He got on his bike. He made me chase him. He didn't plant his feet and dare you to come in like he used to do.
Yeah, the smart strategy versus someone like you, though.
And that was hard. Much harder to take him down. Hit a moving target and take down a moving target was way more difficult. That second fight was the only time I've ever really gotten angry in a fight.
Trying to chase him down?
No, he poked me in the eye.
Oh, shit.
And, Tito and Vernon White and all these guys were bitching, saying, on tape, saying, hey, when he throws his jab, he leaves his thumb out. And he poked me in the eye. And I was just coming off the Rico fight where I had literally seriously injured my eye. And sure enough, he threw that jab and poked me in the eye, in the same eye that I'd injured with the elbow in the Rodriguez fight. And it really kind of irritated me. I didn't think he was being dirty. I've never thought that about Chuck.
I don't think it was intentional, but it's still
it was just one of those things.
Yeah.
Here's 2 or 3 other guys that are complaining about the same thing.
He could have maybe worked on
and then it happened in that fight. And I came after him really hard after I took my break, recovered from the eye, and then really charged him pretty hard and threw a big left hook and missed. And that put me right in line for that right hand, that straight right hand.
I've been hit
the only time I've ever
training.
been knocked out, which is a weird experiance, losing that little piece of time.
We kind of waked up a little confused. What just happened?
Like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, that happened once, and it's not
fun.
Not a good feeling.
Fun. Thankfully, I didn't get stuck in a loop like a lot of guys do.
Yeah, they keep asking like, "Did I win?" That's just
Linland.
That's the worst. I've coached guys, and they ask me like 10 times.
I can't remember
the
name of the guy Linland fought, but he threw him in a suplex, and the guy's back hit him in the face and knocked him out.
Who was
it was
that?
a Hawaiian dude.
I remember that.
But Nico,
something
Price,
like,
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I remember that fight.
Anyway, Matt knocked himself out throwing that dude, and couldn't understand. He couldn't figure it out. He was stuck in the loop. So it was an illegal headbutt, right? He just kept saying that over and over and over in the locker room. I'm like, dude, it's about to be an illegal headbutt if you say that again.
Right?
No, Matt, you threw him, and he landed on your head and knocked you out.
So embarrassing because he was a tough guy too. I trained with him
Matt's
some.
A scrapper.
Had him come down with Chell and train a little bit. Like that was the old. Was it you
Team
and
Quest.
him?
Me, Danny, Henderson, and Matt started Team Quest with Robert
like?
Follis.
That was just savage. That was just the savage
amazing,
days. I bet that was just epic.
It was an old van conversion center in the back of a car lot, a used car lot. Joel Supernaut owned the car lot with Matt, and they had this crazy garage space. And me and Danny had been trying to run a gym called the 3rd Street Gym. We call it Performance Center. Performance Quest, rather. We spelled performance wrong on our side. So it's, it was one of those funny moments. But we realized very quickly we had no clue how to run a gym. And the gym wasn't making money. We were in arrears with a bunch of rent.
Because there was no money in wrestling. You were fighting at the league.
Well, it was a fitness center. And then we turned the aerobics room into a mat room. And the mat room was packed. But the rest of the gym was crickets.
Yeah.
And so we ended up closing the doors, auctioning off all the equipment to pay our back rent.
Damn, that sucks.
And then we moved those mats into the back of that car dealership in that van conversion center.
So he's giving
that was
free
the
of rent
start
or really cheap rent?
We didn't pay any rent.
Just like come on and train.
Because Matt and Joel were already running the car dealership, so it was no skin off their backside to take that space. And then we started having 30, 40 guys show up to practice, from Southern Washington all the way up to Seattle, and then all the guys in the Portland area, Chris Lieben, Ed Herman,
was Chelson in there?
Benji Raddick, all these really, really good guys. Jeff Munson.
Yeah, you guys had a stack.
Just a plethora of guys. Evan Tanner moved out.
Wow.
We had a crazy room. Chaelson and me, Danny, Matt. We had a crazy room in there. Could have sold popcorn to those workouts.
It was organic and raw back then. I mean, obviously there wasn't the money and fame, but there was something to like the organic, because we had there was no money. Like people see you as a superstar, but you're struggling financially to running the gym. People don't look at it that way, but it was a tough time, but you're probably happy as hell doing that.
That is true. We had a blast in there. It was a great place, a lot of fun, and won a few titles. Tanner won his title out of there. Hendo won a bunch of Pride championships out of there. Matt was in some title fights. I won a few titles while we were training there at Team Quest. Lieben and Nate Corey, in the first season of The Ultimate Fighter from there. Ed Herman, this is a plethora.
He's tough, man.
I fought Ryan Schultz.
I won the fight, but it was a tough fight. Schultz too, he's tough. I remember him.
Yeah, scrappers, bunch of scrappers, bunch of wrestlers.
You guys must have trained hard, I bet.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing. I think we realized that we were overdoing it.
Well, I think the same generation probably overdid it, but some of the guys underdo it now.
It's a wrestler's mentality, right? We come in and wrestle live every single day, beat the hell out of each other, and realized that, it was actually going up and training with Mo Smith and Matt Hume up in Seattle, where I grew
scientific about it.
And me and Nate Corey were going up there and training. I was getting ready to fight Pedro again in the rematch. This is after Zuffa bought the company, bought the brand. And they forced me into an automatic rematch. And that was one of the toughest fights I've ever been in.
Pedro
that first Pedro fight.
That was a really close fight, if I remember correctly, right?
It was a very tough fight. I won 3, he won 2.
You did win it though, right?
Kicked me 14 times.
So you did win it, right?
I won a unanimous decision.
And they forced
Some people thought I lost.
That's why they forced you into a rematch.
I analyzed it and I thought, man, I clearly won this fight. But it was a very tough fight.
Guy though, hard to take down.
Kicked me 14 times in my lead leg.
He had powerful leg kicks. People don't remember him. He was a beast.
Ever after that fight. 6 weeks after that fight, I didn't walk right.
And then you had to rematch him again right away.
I had to rematch him. So I went up and trained with Mo Smith, and he fixed a bunch of things in my stance, fixed my kickboxing, taught me how to kick.
Did you fight Maurice Smith?
I fought Mo for my first title.
That's what I thought. That's what you
Japan,
said. That you guys
Yokohama.
fought, and you beat him, correct?
I beat him. Yeah, took him down every time he tried to kick me. That was a different format back then.
Yeah.
It wasn't rounds.
Oh, so yeah, you should
We
stay
had a
on top.
15-minute go, then two overtimes, and I won. I took him down in all 3 of the periods, and he had trouble getting up off his back. But he was a formidable guy. I mean, he just beat Mark Coleman to put him in that.
That was like a shock to me because I was a wrestler and Coleman looked unbeatable, and he just slept him.
Mark got so tired.
He gassed out. Yeah, Mark's a great guy. Like I've always liked Mark, but yeah, he didn't. I don't think he trained that hard. He's thinking he was invincible. Thanks for watching Fight Back Podcast. If you like the show, like, subscribe, or share the video. There's also donation links in the descriptions. Hey guys, I'm demonetized everywhere. So if you want to support me and the podcast, go to fightbackpodcast.com and you can buy some cool merch like the shirt I'm wearing now.
Yeah. Happy for Mark now. I mean, he clean and sober.
I know. I actually just interviewed him.
3.5, 4 years going on.
I just interviewed him. Look, he's in a good headspace.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause I think for a minute
I'm
he
very
wasn't.
happy that he was.
You see his house was burned down and he almost died.
Lost his dog and all that. Yeah,
almost
what a
at least he saved his parents though.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of that, you were just in it sounded a lot worse in the news, but you said it wasn't. It was a little over drama. Like they had to air fly you out.
Yeah,
I was super concerned.
They hyped
when
it
I
up
read
a little bit for sure. Obviously I have some burns on the left arm and left hand especially, but they're healed up. It's been 11 weeks since that
So yeah,
crash.
it was pretty quick recovery because I was surprised to see you in the gym. Ran into you last week or whatever.
Yeah, pulled out all the stops. Started some stem gen supplements that propagate stem cells for healing. I was going to the Coquin hyperbaric chamber spa up on Rainbow that was great, and that helped heal this up a lot.
Yeah, you look way better than I expected.
Scorpion venom, good for inflammation and soreness. Basically, I've been taking that regularly with this.
What is it? Blue Scorpion
I have a Spooky
venom?
2 machine. Yeah, blue scorpion venom. It's really check it out.
Is it like
It's really
real
good
venom?
stuff.
Or?
It is. Yeah, which is, I mean, how the heck did they figure out that's
I'll
good?
have to look that up after this. That sounds interesting.
It's really
right?
interesting. I have a Spooky 2 machine, which is a Rife machine, basically a frequency machine that will help propagate healing, kill cancer cells, things like that. So all those modalities came into play in the last 11 weeks, getting this to heal up.
What was you were racing a car or what happened?
I was trying to get certified in drag racing as a driver. I got my license in NHRA, which is a gas car. I was trying to move up in class to a Pro Mod car, which is an alcohol car, not a nitro funny car. That's the top. I mean, the nitro funny cars and the dragsters; those are the fastest
really
cars.
fast
It's literally 3 seconds in do a quarter mile in 3 seconds. It's unbelievable how fast those cars are. The Pro Mod car is still really fast. It's a 280 mile an hour car. It'll do a quarter mile in 5 seconds. I was in my second training run in a Pro Mod car, an alcohol car, and crashed.
Were you going pretty damn fast? Or?
Going 200 miles an hour.
Ooh.
And it was my inexperience. Let's be honest. I should have ditched the run. I did a great burnout, staged the car, getting ready to launch the car. As soon as I launched the car, we take off for the center line of the track. And instead of taking my foot off the gas pedal, which is what I should have done, I tried to correct and get it back in the lane. And I overcorrected and shot it into the wall. And once I hit the wall, I'm along for the ride. I couldn't steer it anymore. Shot across the track and hit the other wall. That crushed the gas canister in the front of the car, shot alcohol fuel all over this hot motor and started a fire. Thankfully, I didn't lose consciousness, or it might have been a much worse day.
Burns are brutal.
Yeah, and alcohol burns, alcohol fires, balloons clear. You don't even see flames.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I popped my belt, the 5-point harness, and popped the door, and I had to climb out of the roll cage, which was hot now because of the
So you
fire.
burn yourself
And
crawling
that's how
out,
I
but
burned
it's like you
myself
better get out or
climbing
you're going to be burnt
Oh,
up.
Yep, exactly right. So I'm halfway out of the car when the first EMT ran up, and he grabbed me by the Hans device, my neck harness, and pulled me the rest of the way out. It took me a while to calm down. I was very pissed.
You were mad, huh?
Oh yeah, I
more
was
than
mad
like
that
scared,
I
mad.
2 runs into
Your
this
second
and
was
I
the second or
crashed.
third
I was
run.
just like,
I guess that would piss me off.
I was
It's funny, our
pissed.
nature, the fighter in you gets mad versus
yeah,
like
I was so irritated. finally got me calmed down, got me laid down, cut my clothes off, and then I realized how bad it was.
Oh, so you almost didn't realize you were more
I was
mad
trying to get my helmet off, not realizing
you didn't feel the pain.
with the gloves on that my hands were fried.
So you thought you were totally fine.
And I'm pissed because I feel like I'm suffocating in this helmet with the balaclava on and everything, and I couldn't get the strap undone. So finally one of the EMTs reaches up and clips the strap. So now the helmet comes off, and I start realizing, pull the gloves off, which were smoked. They were charred. And then I'm like, oh boy.
Wow.
So I'm 45 minutes out of Kansas City in the city of Odessa. That's where the Flying H track was. They gave us the track. We were the only ones there that day, trying to get all my runs in to get certified in Pro Mod. And so the most effective and efficient way to get me the 45 minutes to Kansas City to the big hospital was to fly me.
So that's why it sounded so much worse. When you hear someone's medical back,
it was
it's
a
like,
life
oh man.
flight. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's how the news article looked that I read. I was like, oh man.
And it wasn't a life
I hit up
flight.
Eric, I think,
life
and he's
was
like, no,
never,
he's okay. You know, when I saw
I wasn't in danger of dying at that moment. I was certainly hurt, and it was a serious crash, but it wasn't a life flight, which is what they said.
Yeah, so
they kept showing cars that were engulfed in flames.
The news
likes
was
that.
They wanted to hype it up, get everyone worried.
You know, they came up and foamed that car immediately as soon as I was out of it, and the car was still totaled, but it was never engulfed in flames.
They're expensive cars.
There was a bit of sensationalism there with the media.
No, that's expected by the media. They want to hype everything up.
Typical.
It just shows your attitude, though. You know, even older age, after the UFC, all the acting, you're still motivated to try new things. Like, oh, I want to be a. I think it's the fighter mindset. We have to always have challenges.
Exactly right, Jake. I think purpose is very important. Having something to chase, something that keeps you motivated. And racing was something, and hot rods are something I've been interested in my whole life. Never thought of myself driving one, but I never thought of myself being a cage fighter either. And here we are.
No, I didn't plan it either. It just happened by accident.
Yeah.
I think as a man, we need a purpose.
Or in acting.
Right. It seems like your whole life you've had purpose. You went straight from high school wrestling, right, where you were a good wrestler, then you jumped into the military.
6 years in the Army. I read right out of high school in 82,
6 years,
88.
I didn't know it was that long. I read that you tried doing freestyle and there was a clerical error and they put you in the Greco team. Is that accurate or no?
I was in Germany. My first duty station was Hanau, West Germany, Fliegerhorst Kaserne. They had 5 million soldiers in Central Europe at that time, and athletics, sporting events were great for morale. So soccer, I played some soccer over there. Definitely started wrestling again over there. Boxing was another thing that was going on. And certainly the combative sports with the military is in line with their mission and all of that. So I got back out on the wrestling mat, and I ended up at the Fifth Corps tournament, which is a regional championship in Germany. I'd done freestyle and folk style before. I'd never done Greco.
Yeah, I've never done Greco either.
So I signed up to wrestle in the freestyle tournament, and they had accidentally put me on the Greco bracket. So I get out of literally finished a match, just walked off the mat in freestyle, and they start calling my name. I'm like, I can't be up again. I just wrestled. Yeah. And they're like, so I run over to the head table, like, hey, I just finished a match. I can't be up again. Oh, well, you're on the Greco bracket. Well, I didn't sign up for the Greco bracket. Well, you're on it. Are you going to wrestle or not? And I'm like, all right, let's do this. I ended up winning the dang tournament.
Wow.
And I was hooked. I thought, this was so much fun. It was such a different style. Little did I know, the All-Army program specialized in Greco, and the services specialized.
So that turned out really good. They had a better Greco
So
team.
now that, I got the coach's attention by wrestling the Greco, not the freestyle.
Interesting.
And so that ultimately ended up getting me a chance to try out for the All-Army team. And I made the team. I wrestled freestyle and Greco. I ended up winning inter-service championships in both styles eventually, which qualified me for the Olympic trials, for the 88 Olympic trials as a soldier. And I was an alternate on the 88 team as a soldier on the Greco team.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So,
you're an alternate, that was,
here my dream as a kid was to be an Olympic skier. I loved skiing. It was my favorite sport. I started at 5. And I can ski. But skiing is very expensive. I was raised in a single parent household. My mom couldn't afford to get me 3 pairs of skis and a season ticket and the lessons for, slalom, giant slalom and downhill skiing. I mean, it's very, very technical, but it's what I loved. Those were the heroes I had as a kid. Franz Klammer, Jean-Claude Keely, the Mayer brothers. I mean, those were the guys I watched on TV win World Cup medals and ski at that level. that was where my heart was when I was a young kid. And then I found a wrestling mat.
And fell in love. It was funny. I love snowboarding too. I snowboarded a lot, like in high school, and then I wrestled. So part of me was like, oh, maybe I could try to be a pro snowboarder. I never planned on being a fighter. I remember watching like you or Coleman before you, then you, being like, these guys are crazy. Until I ended up doing it. One of those weird things that happened.
So you're a pretty good snowboarder?
I haven't done it in a while, so I'm not good anymore. But I was pretty good, like at the time. I mean, nowhere near pro level, but like I was good.
Yeah, I was a pretty good skier. I tried snowboarding 3 times. I don't think I've ever fallen that hard.
No, it's hard. I wouldn't
Catching
mind
an
doing
edge
it.
and
Some
just
of my
go,
friends
pow.
have switched over to skis now. I think because they make better powder skis now, and they say it's just easier to like.
The shape skis are amazing. You can get a shorter ski that skis like a longer ski.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind trying skiing.
Yeah.
But one of these days. So you went to college after Army?
Yeah.
You wrestled in college too, right?
I joined the Army at 19 years old to support a new family. I had a son on the way. Ryan was on his way.
Yeah, I know he runs the Extreme Couture
I wasn't
gym
going to be a deadbeat like my dad. So I was like, I got to support this family. We're getting married, joined the Army to do that. But again, I thought wrestling was done for me. My daughter was born in Germany while we were stationed over there 2 years after Ryan, Amy. And then it was a big decision for me. Was I going to stay in the Army and keep chasing the Olympic dream and supporting the family, or was I going to get out and take a college scholarship and go wrestle at Oklahoma State or one of the other universities that was chasing me at that time?
Having the scholarship helps, and that's
Oklahoma,
these big schools going after you. I'm sure that helped make the decision a little easier.
Yeah,
Still
and
a tough decision, though.
My old Army coach, Floyd Winter, who was a great guy, and he's like, man, I think you're crazy if you don't take that scholarship.
But it's hard
as much
too.
as I'd like to keep you in
money
the Army
coming in and stuff too, though. So it's tricky.
Yeah, it was a scary proposition for sure.
So it's hard. I was young, trying to provide for a family and college and stuff too, and it's tough times when you're like, damn, where's the money coming from?
You're in survival mode. Most assuredly in survival mode.
Some of my greatest years, but it's still a little stressful when you're like got a kid to feed.
Yeah, it worked out, thankfully. Those coaches were important people in my life, and Coach Winter certainly steered me in the right direction. And I made the decision, I'm going to get out. I'm going to take the scholarship and go wrestle.
Yeah, and you had a successful, 3-time finalist? Or
I was in the finals twice, my junior and senior year. I was an All-American 3 times.
Yeah, so that's a damn good
Missed
career.
it by one match my freshman year. But we won the national title that year, and the first time in 17 years that Oklahoma State had won the NCAA championships. And we won it twice and took second twice while I was there at Oklahoma State.
Was Iowa super dominant during the years?
Iowa was very tough. Penn State was in the top 3 back then.
Because what years were you in college? That was a while ago. Like
I was in
mid-90s probably?
88 to 92.
Oh, wow. So that's like that Iowa era. And
yeah, Gable was still there, and we were the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country at that time. It was a big rivalry.
No, I remember when I was like young, and I was super young at that time, but watching the wrestling, that Iowa-Oklahoma rivalry was massive.
Yeah, huge. Man, wrestling at Carver Hawkeye was no joke, man. They were serious fans, throwing ice at our bench and just harassing. Coach Say was Joe Say was our coach back then, and they were shouting stuff at him, and I was like, man, where am I at right now?
Because typically wrestling doesn't have huge audiences, which is unfortunate, but Iowa, they do.
Yeah. Iowa, Penn State, Oklahoma State, we would pack a gym, which was not the norm for that sport. But, man, nothing quite like that. They were literally be hanging from the rafters in Gallagher, Iowa for the Iowa, the Hawkeye Cowboy duel.
Yeah, I would love to go, Iowa and watch a match. As a kid, that was always the top team, so I'd love to check that out at some point. I've actually never been to Iowa. Traveled all over the country.
Yeah.
I think I've never been there. Kind of weird. I've traveled so much.
It's a fun place to go watch a match for sure.
Oh, right.
They are
set up a seminar, give an
avid
excuse
fans
or
of
something. That'd
wrestling.
be cool. Meet Dan Gable, and someone was actually talking to him about maybe interviewing him. I'm like, I'd come to Iowa for that.
Yeah.
Just because as a kid, he's a guy I look up to. It's like, I'll travel to Iowa to get a chance to interview Gable.
He's an icon, no doubt about it.
It's something to too. The guys you're growing up that you watch, it's just like it's hard to. They're your heroes forever. Which is kind of weird. I'm sure you get it. Like when people started coming up to me being like, oh, I remember watching you fight as a kid. It's like, man, you're making me feel old.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Like, well, that's the nicest way anybody's called me
like,
an old bastard ever.
They're not even doing it intentionally, but you're like, oh, it kind of hurts a little bit. When I first started getting that, I'm like, people would look my age and they're like, we're watching as a kid. I'm like, wait, how old are you? This
exactly.
Isn't good. Yeah, before you went to MA, you were having high level success too.
I was wrestling at a very high level. I'd made the world team.
Olympic alternate a couple times,
four
too,
times.
right?
I was
A
an
little
alternate
frustrating.
for 4 Olympic teams.
God, it's got to be frustrating, right? Like,
that
it's
one
amazing,
goal
but also
I never
frustrating.
accomplished. But in many ways, I think things worked out the way they're supposed to. MMA is a very volatile sport. Having those big losses in those big matches, I think psychologically prepared me for the volatile
drove you
sport.
Crazy. Came that close 4 times. It's like, it's a huge success, but also had to feel like a huge devastation, I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's such a successful
96
thing, every time
especially.
you came right there, you must have just been like,
96 especially was.
Is that what made you jump into fighting? You just kind of.
I was, 92 and 96, I was the number 1 guy in my weight class. Everybody expected me to make those 2 Olympic teams, and I came up short in those final matches. Those final trials were a grueling process. And
wrestling is really tough. People who don't know, I might be tougher than fighting in some ways.
Yeah, I mean the NCAA tournament. In 3 days, you're gonna wrestle 5 of the biggest matches of your life.
The grind of it is so intense. Like we have months between our fights typically.
To win that, yeah.
You can get punched. There's a little more stress with humiliation, but there's something with that wrestling that nothing compares to, and I think that's why wrestlers do so well in fighting, because that mental grind. It's insane. People that haven't done it wouldn't understand. That's why I tell everyone, make their sons wrestle. It makes them a better man.
Yep, I agree 100%. No better character builder on this planet than walking out of the center of that mat by yourself, and you're going to get out of it exactly what you put into it.
Exactly. That's
life.
You can't blame your team. You can't blame your team. It's just you out there. And even wrestling, there's no glory, no groupies, no money. It's just you're out there just for the purest reasons.
Yeah, and you get to walk out there in a singlet in front of all your friends.
Yeah,
you want to talk about real courage?
Yeah, you might get banana
singlet and tights if you're lucky.
Right? It's kind of. They probably should change that, in my opinion.
They're switching now more to the rash guards and board shorts.
I think it would make more like, because if I was in high school and I hadn't wrestled, I don't know if I would have hopped in and like put that singlet on.
Yeah.
If you're like 14, you're like, I don't know how to put that thing on.
I did that at 11 in junior high, my first year in 7th grade. Man,
you hate
about scary.
Yeah, it's kind of really putting the same thing. And it is scary going out there one-on-one. There's a lot of pressure in wrestling. It's like no other sport.
Yep.
Well, other than fighting, which that's why it gets you so prepared for fighting.
A very similar mindset. I think between wrestling and MMA, our rules of engagement are different, but there's a whole bunch of what I learned from wrestling and what you learned from wrestling that translated directly to walking out that tunnel and up in that cage to do what we trained to do.
It's interesting that we learned. I kind of realized it was martial art, but not really. But then seeing guys like you and Coleman, Dan Severn, dominate. It's like, wow, I'm doing like the best martial art in the world. That was a good feeling when you found that out.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That makes me happy.
What was your first fight?
UFC 13. It was a tournament. I fought in the heavyweight tournament. I fought Tony Hollema and Stephen Graham that night to win the heavyweight tournament. And then that threw me into a super fight with Vitor Belfort.
You were a big underdog on that.
Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, on a boat. Because maritime law is different than land.
Because it was pretty much illegal. It was pretty much illegal everywhere at that time, other than a couple of states.
Yeah, New York was one of the holdout states, but you could do things on the. They built a tent on the shore, but they had a casino in the boat because gambling was illegal on the land, but not illegal on the water.
Wow, it's wild. Maritime
law is different. It's something that. We're governed by a lot of maritime law, actually. It's really interesting. But that it was maybe 1,200 people at that fight. It was rabid.
That's like a small little
tent. Yeah.
And Vitor was just so hyped at that time, I remember.
Yeah, the Phenom. That's what they called him.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the fight that set the tone for the rest of my career in many ways.
Just because, like, mentally you knew you belonged there, or just like the physicality
I think
of it?
because I knew in my heart I could beat him. If I got my hands on him and made him work, it was going to be a bad night for him. And if I stood around in front of him, he was punching the hell out of everybody. And so I had confidence in my ability to make him wrestle me and take some gas out of him. But I think in many ways, because of my age, I just turned 34. Most people thought I was over the hill.
Older when you
by combative sports measurement.
That's past people's prime, considering
I was over the hill.
Crazy. So you started.
And so I was an underdog, from jump, and came through. And nobody thought I was going to win that fight. Here's this kid that's smoking everybody, And this old man, that's what they call me, you know, he's gonna get his butt whooped, and it didn't go that way.
I remember watching that fight still thinking, I was cheering for you being the wrestler, but I'm like, oh man, this Vitor guy's scary.
Yeah, and he was scary. He definitely had my attention. That caused the rift between me and the head coach at Oregon State. Joe Wells was the head coach.
He didn't want you doing
Well, he didn't
or?
like fighting. He thought the fighting was bad for wrestling, bad for the university. He said, look, I don't like this. But if the athletic director says it's okay, then I guess you're okay to do it. So I set up an appointment with the athletic director. Dutch Bachman was his name. He was from Ohio State originally, and Dutch thought it was the coolest thing ever. So I was off and running.
Like, sweet.
And I did that first fight in the spring of '97, and then of course they want to throw me right in against Vitor in the next fight in October that same year. And, you know, in August, all my athletes for Oregon State are coming back to town to start practice and get ready for those first tournaments and those first matches. So, and I need to go to California and get this boxing coach to face Vitor. I'm going to get my ass whooped. And so I'm like, Coach, you know, they're throwing another fight at me. They want me to fight again in October. I need to go to California and get this training in, or I'm going to get my butt whooped. He said, come on, man. All the athletes are coming to town. We start practice in 2 weeks. What are you going to do? You're going to be a coach? You're going to be a fighter? And I'm like, Coach, they're paying me more for this one fight than you pay me for the whole year as the assistant coach.
So what are you?
I think I'm going to be a fighter. And so he said, all right, well, you put me in a tough spot. I'm going to take you out of the assistant coaching position. I'll keep you on this season as a strength coach so that you can train with the guys. And I'm going to open the position up and find a replacement for you as the assistant coach. So he's kind of forcing me to make a decision.
Yeah,
and I
see both sides. It's like looking back, it's hard to say who's right in that situation. I don't know.
I was upset with him at the time, and then the dust settled, and you know, I made the decision I made. I'm committed to fighting. What happened
with your career?
And him and I made up later, and I helped him with some summer camps, some things after that. We were still good friends. I'm glad he forced me to make that decision because I would have tried to juggle both.
You were trying to juggle both, and it would have hurt your
and they both
a little
would have
bit.
suffered.
Yeah,
that's the truth.
You would have done two things half-assed.
Yep,
sometimes it's hard to put all your energy into one thing. I tell guys, sometimes you're trying to do too many things, and it's like do less.
Spread yourself too thin, man. You can't do justice to either of them.
Yeah, you can't master several things at once. You know, like I think it's good to typically put most of your energy in one thing, then you have a number two thing you put a little energy into, but. Really be trying to full energy into two things is hard. Yeah.
So, you know, I was irritated that he made me, you know, forced me to make a decision initially, but when the dust settled, he was right, and I was glad he forced me to do that.
So he actually did you a favor looking back,
Yep.
I'm glad you guys made up, because that's one, I think I'd be mad if I was in your situation, but then I kind of see his point.
Yeah. No,
you can't have an assistant coach that's not fully.
Now, I didn't agree with his position on the fighting. I didn't think fighting was bad for wrestling at all. Like, I actually thought it was
great
good
for wrestling. I think that's
and USA Wrestling missed the boat. They could have been on that rise. And fed more wrestlers into the sport of MMA. I mean, me and Mark were, you know, and Dan Henderson and so many other guys. Dan, you know, Matt Linland, gosh, Kevin Jackson back then. I mean, there were a lot. Kenny Monday. There were a bunch of very, very good high-level wrestlers that were dipping their toe in the water.
Kevin
and
Randall,
USA Wrestling.
He was more than dipping his toe, but there was.
Kevin and Mark, you know, Team Hammerhouse. I mean, they became staples in this sport for sure.
Mark Kerr too.
Mark Kerr and the Smashing Machine. I haven't seen it yet either.
I want to check that out.
Yeah, I haven't checked it out yet. I saw the documentary.
I saw that too.
And obviously I know Mark well. My senior year, that's who I wrestled in the finals at the NCAAs was Kerr.
Yeah,
he beat me. Caught me in a cradle in the first round. Shot a single. He had this great cradle. He's so long. He slapped this cradle on me. He put me on my back. He almost pinned me. And I survived the round and then was trying to come back, and I think he beat me 11-6. He scored that 5 points in the first round, and I never overcame that. Yeah.
Once you're up 5, it's like hard. When you're at that high level wrestling, it's hard to come back from that.
Yeah.
Because then you're stuck chasing, and he's can counter.
Exactly.
It's hard when you're the guy chasing.
Yeah. But Mark's a good man. I'm glad Mark's in a much better place now. Than
he's another guy that's, I guess a lot of fighters, you know, like I said earlier, it's hard to walk away.
We've seen a few of those guys.
A lot of us are a little crazy. Like, why else are we fighting?
We have a screw loose for sure.
Like, why are we doing this?
This is our idea of fun.
Well, especially when we started, there was no real money. You know, I started like 2000, so not that long after you. And it's like there was no money, no fame. We were just crazy. I don't know why we were doing it.
Yeah. Well, for the love of the sport.
Yeah,
I mean, I wrestled most of my life and didn't make any money doing that, but it's where your passion is.
What do you, I mean, obviously like it better with the money, but there's a lot of pros and cons of each, right? There were some pros of back then in the day when there was no fame and money on it. Obviously it's better with the fame and money now, but it brings some downside too of like turning into a business and people in it for the wrong reasons. And
there's no doubt about that. I mean, the sport is going through, I think, some growing pains right now. There's no transparency in our sport.
I don't think they try to build stars as much. I think the UFC is too worried about their brand.
It's a puppy mill. They're
So
literally
they're
just pumping out, and you don't want to sign that contract? This guy will sign it, and they're off and running with that guy.
Another thing about the UFC is, if, let's say you're a little past your prime, but you're a huge star and you're getting a good contract, they'll start trying to get you to lose against the top up-and-comers. They'll give you every fight, the toughest fight, instead of occasionally giving you maybe an easier fight mixed in. Like boxing does a lot of that. They'll give guys easier fights to build for the fans.
Well, they used to take the time to do the behind-the-scenes stuff and build stars.
Yeah, I would have, if I GSP, they did a three-episode build-up. So they would try to build us up. Now it looks like they're more just UFC brand than it is. They have kind of caught the wave. Somehow they got connected to right-wing politics. That was a big boost for them, I think, during COVID and stuff, because it was the first sport that started going back. Trump going to watch, all these politicians. That's been a big boost for them, but they're not building stars.
No, I don't think they are either. And it's too much power. That's the difference in boxing. Everybody wants to know the difference between boxing and MMA. Why do boxers get paid so much more money? The Ollie Act was founded in 1996 to protect boxers from promoters like Don King and Bob Arum, who had taken advantage of a bunch of boxers. That act was federal legislation that was designed to protect boxers. We've been lobbying to try and change that to all combative sports athletes, not just boxers. And the UFC has been lobbying very, very hard against us to keep it from getting to a vote. And obviously that political alignment that you just mentioned will make it very hard for us to get that to a vote.
Yes,
we had it on the floor. We had 60 sponsors on both sides of the aisle. It's a no-brainer. You have to know who you're talking to and how to talk to them. If I'm talking to a Republican, it's all about, we're not getting paid our fair share, and they light up like a Christmas tree. If you're talking to a Democrat, we don't have any health care or savings, health insurance or 401ks or any of that stuff in our sport, and they light up like a Christmas tree when you talk about. So we had
you have to know how to talk
Joe
to
Kennedy,
you
and
mentioned that, but it is true. You have to know what makes them spark.
So we were ready to have it on the floor to be voted in Congress, and then it would have gone from there to the Senate. And then the real question is, would Trump have vetoed it?
That would have been a bad look, but he might have, because his relationship with Dana White, which is probably
they
why
got
Dana
us
White's
thrown out of. The original act was passed in Energy and Commerce, and we were in Energy and Commerce trying to get the HR 44, which is the amendment to the act, passed and voted on. They got us thrown out of Energy and Commerce and thrown into education, which didn't make any sense. But the original act was passed here. Why are we going to this other committee that didn't have anything to do with the original Muhammad Ali Act to do the amendment to the Ali Act?
Got a lot of political power.
Exactly. The lobbyists did their job.
That's the one thing when Soup about it. They helped blow it up, but they really understand the politics, which is good for some aspects, getting it legalized, but it's bad for the fighters in aspects like this.
I ended up speaking in congressional session, trying to promote the HR 44. This was when we were pushing to get it voted on, and that whole thing got kiboshed when they threw us out of Energy and Commerce and made us basically start all over again, getting sponsors and getting people that wanted to vote on this.
I imagine you and Dana had a volatile relationship over this.
Never at that point did we ever talk about any of that. I was already on the outs.
You managed
with them.
to keep it like not personal. You get pretty personal with a lot of people.
We were on the outs because I held their feet over the foot. When they bought the company, I had just signed a new management. And they educated me on what an ancillary right was and what that was worth to me as the heavyweight champ. My ability to write a book, be in a movie, be in a video game, do action figures. These are all things I ended up doing that had I signed away my ancillary rights in those categories, I would have had to ask Dana White's permission to do any of that.
That's so crazy.
And that's what a lot of fighters didn't understand about that contract they were looking at, that 17-page piece of crap. That literally signed your life away.
If you're not already a big name, it's impossible.
And because I had management that
out.
educated me about that, and I held their feet to the fire as their heavyweight champ, I'm not going to sign this unless you eliminate this stuff and put this stuff in, and basically got them to adjust my contract.
Yeah, most people can't do this. You were in a power position.
So
it's rare for a fighter to be able to do that
put
to
me
the UFC.
At odds with the Fertittas and Dana right from the jump, and I never really recovered. I think they continually tried to get me beat, like you said.
They'll do that with guys they don't like,
and
sometimes guys they even say,
and I managed to be the fly in their ointment and turn that around on them, time and time again.
Yeah, they'll have their favorites. For a while, it was Tito.
I'm sure they thought Pedro Hiza was going to beat me, and he came very close to beating me that first
really
time.
Good, yeah.
They signed him to a 9-fight deal. That was the biggest deal anybody had signed at that time.
So they were paying him more than you?
They were paying him a lot, and it was a extensive contract because he's this big, strong, good-looking Brazilian kid, knockout artist that's going to bring the whole Latin American community into the UFC to watch the fights. So I understood why they liked him, but didn't do it. That's not my problem.
Yeah.
My problem is to go out there and win that fight.
Exactly.
And I did my job. Yeah.
As many of you guys know, I run a free speech podcast. That comes as a price. It's being demonetized everywhere. So one way to support the podcast is to buy your books from AntelopeHillPublishing.com. Today's selection is The Trans-Industrial Complex. This book covers the money-making machine of the trans industries and shows it's not to help people, but to make money and get rich. So again, if you want to support the podcast, go to AntelopeHillPublishing.com and be sure to use promo code FIGHTBACK. That'll save you money and support me. Thank you. Methylene blue has been used for over 100 years for medical purposes and recently surged back into popularity. It has been shown to help repair brain tissue and improve memory, cognitive function, energy, and mood. Research suggests that methylene blue could have neuroprotective effects, possibly aiding in conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and depression. Go to MerakiMedicinal.com and use the promo code FIGHTBACK for a discount. You're a wrestler. You want to, you did a lot of dirty boxing too, but a lot of times you want to put people on their back.
Took them down.
You're one of the original dirty boxers, I believe, that would grab those punches.
Yeah,
like,
that first Belfort fight is where that dirty boxing grew out of that fight. I got a hold of him with that collar tie and was able to just punch him a bunch. It wasn't that I was hitting him that hard. It was just an accumulation. And
over and over.
Made him work. At the end of the day, he collapses out of fatigue, I think, more than anything.
Yeah, there's that fatigue people don't understand. That can put you out almost like a knockout.
Making him wrestle.
And you're getting punched on top of it. So it's probably a mix of the headshots and the fatigue.
Agreed. But again, I think that Belfort fight set the tone, and that tone carried all the way through.
Yeah, and it became, one of the big, despite maybe they didn't love you, you still became one of the biggest stars. I think for a lot of reasons, people could relate to you. They liked the...
I tried to keep it simple, just be myself. I didn't create a persona. I didn't talk smack. I didn't do any of those things that Dana likes.
Yeah, that's the thing he wants, like the Tito.
Again, another reason why he didn't really care for me. I kept my mouth shut.
You're just too
did
normal,
my job.
too polite, too nice, yeah.
So, but
my
it
dad
worked out.
Yeah, my dad was a massive fan. Remember when you won the belt? Was it 46? You still hold the record for the oldest, 44, but still the oldest person to ever win a UFC belt, correct?
Yeah, that was a Tim Sylvia fight.
Yeah, that's a heavyweight.
One of my favorite fights. We look like Mutt and Jeff out there. Tim's so big.
Huge.
6'8", and it was the Arlovsky and Tim show there for about 3 years. They were back and forth and beat each other, and just that's one of my favorite fights. That crowd in Ohio that night. Nationwide arena and 20,000 people.
Yeah. What's some other fights that were some of your favorites? Sometimes it's the athlete. It's like our favorite fights aren't necessarily the ones that the fans remember. For some reason, there's a fight that like resonates with us.
That first Pedro fight was definitely the toughest fight I was ever in. That was a brawl, and they were still using pyro back then. So it was one of the first fights that Zuffa did, and they had all the pyro and all that smoke in that arena at Trump Taj Mahal in Atlantic City triggered my asthma. And I recognized that. I was like, why did I get so tired in this fight? I've never gotten tired in a fight like that. And I realized it was all the smoke from the pyro.
Yeah.
So I started coming out with a wet rag over my mouth, but eventually they just quit doing the pyro, which I was very thankful they stopped
thankful
doing
for that. They realized, okay, we don't need to do this. It doesn't add much to the fights.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was.
What were you weighing when you were fighting heavyweight?
222 was
that's
my
really small
standard weight.
Because you could pretty much drop to 205 right from there.
Yeah, through camp, I would work to keep my weight up to 220.
Because that's like you could drop that water weight from 220.
Yeah, I would come down during camps at light heavyweight. I'll be walking around at 222 still and come right down to 212,
so you're
213.
the exact same weight when you were
7-8 pounds of water weight on the day of weigh-ins to make weight, which is nothing.
What would you walk in the cage at 205s versus
Probably
heavyweight?
216, 218. I would spring back that much. My body got so used to purging the water. I mean, I would lose 7 to 9 pounds of water in every practice.
Yeah.
I kept a training log, and I would check my weight before practice and check my weight after. I knew exactly how much water I lost in a good practice.
That's how hard we're working too. That just shows you how hard our workouts were back then, that we lose 7, 8 pounds in a workout. Mm-hmm. That's just grind.
Then you have a good, litmus test. You know exactly where you stand. Okay, I'm 9 over. That's going to take me this amount of time to cut that water weight, and that's going to be pretty easy.
Yeah, 9's pretty easy. It's what's funny. People don't know that sounds like crazy. Like, oh, I'm going to go drop 9 pounds. But for us, having wrestled our whole lives and fought, like I could drop 9. I could do that right now. I could go like drop that in like an hour probably.
Yeah. Yep. It took me 90 minutes to lose 9 pounds.
Yeah, probably slightly over an hour to do exactly 90 minutes. But it gets harder every pound. Starts getting a lot harder. That's where it gets tricky.
Once you start the process, you don't want to stop, because if you cool off, you're going to have a lot of trouble getting yourself to sweat again.
That's where a lot of guys mess up on the weight cut. They try like stopping and stuff, and I would just try to keep that flowing.
Grind, get it done.
Check your weight real quick. If you're over, right back while the sweat glands.
I literally had it down to a science. Put on the same clothes, covered gloves, hat, same sweats, cotton underneath, plastics, and then sweats. And I would just walk on the treadmill.
Yeah.
Once I was sweating by the time I got all those clothes on.
I would usually run like a mile, then I would just walk. Exactly. I probably didn't even need to run. I probably could have just walked, but I would run to get that sweat just pouring, and then I would walk. Every now and again, I would jog for a minute or two, walk.
And I had it timed. I knew once I started sweating, I was going to lose a pound every 10 minutes. So it was going to take me 90 minutes to cut 9 pounds. And it was to the minute. It was always worked. It was
that's very accurate.
Yeah.
But then it starts, once you get over about 12 pounds, they start getting way harder.
Yeah, I never did that.
They don't come off at 10 minutes anymore. I've done like 17 before and stuff. It gets tough. Because the first 10 I could drop pretty easy, just like you're saying. I could probably do that in like 90 minutes or so, maybe 95 minutes. But then they start getting, each pound starts getting tougher.
I tried to keep it to that. I never tried to cut more than that, really. Keep it,
No, that's ideal. It's just I think people are doing big weight cuts at some of these other weights.
It's going to affect your performance. It's a water-based system. It's an electrical system.
Yeah,
you draw the water out of it, and those electric synapses.
I never lost a fight at 85s. I felt small there, but then my gas tank was always so good that like later rounds I would start, taking off. Fighting guys like Henderson. I got dropped twice in the first round, but then later on, like cardio went. Robbie Lawler fought at 85s.
Yep.
So I actually had really good fights there, but I just felt a little small. But like you said, maybe having such a little weight cut, dropped like 7, 8 pounds.
Yeah.
Maybe 8 pounds I would drop, but then that's like, it doesn't wear you out. When you drop like 15, 16, you're a little depleted the next day.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's always.
They used to let us do IVs to rehydrate, but the downside to that, and why they banned that, is because a lot of guys doing performance-enhancing drugs were using IVs to mask their drug use.
That's what I read. I don't understand that, but I guess that doesn't seem like a fair thing to do, though.
Well, it hampers me from rehydrating the most effective way.
Maybe they should let you go into a hospital and do it under their vision, since guys are hiding or they're using. I don't understand how they use it to mask that.
I'm not really sure how that works either, honestly. But that was why they said why they banned that, is that guys were doing that to flush their system out, I guess. And
in the UFC, they just got rid of their USADA. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, because USADA definitely had some downsides to it too, a pain in the ass. I think they still do have a doping. I'm not sure what they're using now, though.
I think the big issue with USADA is they were getting paid to do that for the UFC, so they withheld results. I mean, why did Mark Hunt end up in a legal battle over the results with the Lesnar fight? Because they did competition. They held it till after the fight.
That's what he's suing over. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
It's just crazy. But that was their main event. If they'd have come public with him popping positive 3 weeks before that fight would have went away, and they would have lost a boatload of money.
That's crazy. They did that, though. I wasn't sure what his suit was. That's
what it was.
He's probably going to win that, right?
I would imagine. He won it.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he did win it. That was my understanding.
I would think, they probably settled it and made him sign some
NDA or something. Yeah.
There was just that big lawsuit with the
class
UFC,
action.
which I didn't think they were going to win it.
The league class, got certified, and the judge just signed off on that. So that distribution of $300 million is going to go out to about 1,100 athletes right now.
Which is good. I'm in that group. So
I'm in that group as well for only one fight.
Only one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got 8 or 9 fights in that. So
that's
for me,
good
that's
for you.
Pretty nice.
Yeah, that'd be a good chunk of change for you.
Money you're not expecting is always good.
And the Davis class is still pending. It'll probably be, I'm guessing, a year or two more before that class gets settled.
Is that like the following year?
No, that's a different time period. I'm not in that class at all. The only difference between those two is that the Davis class has some injunctive relief, which is what we need. They need to change the way they're doing business. We need to create that transparency in the sport. They have to disclose how much money they're making off any of these individual events. Yeah. How am I supposed to negotiate my fair value in the marketplace if nobody knows how much these guys are making?
No, the thing is, they could easily.
The sale in 2016 was a big red flag for a lot of fighters.
When they saw what it sold for, billions of dollars.
$4.2 billion.
And now it's
what?
Yeah, it's like what? And we're getting paid like not
peanuts.
much. Like the big stars like you are getting like the same as like a guy that does some small boxing fight. That you're like a household name, but you get these other guys making a couple million a fight in boxing matches that no one knows.
Well, and now they're looking at trying to make a run at boxing, and the boxers don't see what's coming.
No, yeah, why would that's scary? Because Dana White is good at market. He is good promoter. I'm not going to deny that.
They have over 200 employees that help them. They are a marketing machine. They really are. And they're good at that. And they've done a great job of changing the narrative, breaking down the misconceptions about who we are and what our sport is all about. And certainly The Ultimate Fighter was a huge piece of that puzzle.
That was massive.
That first season, the Bonner-Griffin fight literally was the fight of the decade for a reason. Because, when you go from a rating of a 1 in a 15-minute period to a 6, something pretty significant is happening. And that's exactly what happened during that fight, that final fight between those two.
No, that was so big for our sport because it was like no one knew who it was, then it was big overnight.
They got to see behind the scenes who we were, what kind of athletes get in this cage and fight each other. These guys must be criminals. They must be crazy.
They're like, oh, they're normal.
And
you're one of the first
we're
people.
Sort of normal.
Yeah, normal-ish. You're one of the first people to become a mainstream star. I think it was like Chuck, you, Tito, you guys are kind of the first stars in the sport that kind of transcended to like more normal fame.
Yeah, weird. I think that's probably pretty accurate. And again, I think they spent time developing us and putting us out there as the face of the organization, doing those behind the scenes, training montages and shows that put us in that position. And huge. Spike TV being willing to step up and put us in everybody's living room through The Ultimate Fighter on a weekly basis was big too.
I was almost on that first season. I went in there, but for some reason I didn't get picked on the final thing. So
that would have been interesting.
That would have been fun to be in there with Diego.
We had Nate, Corey, and Lieben in there.
That would have been a fun thing.
That would have been really cool.
But that really helped blow the sport up to the next level.
That was an amazing group of guys. We had no idea if that show was going to be successful or not, but they were all there for the love of the sport. And we certainly didn't get paid much for being there.
Oh, the pay was like terrible. I forget what it was, but it was like
it wasn't great. But at the end of the day, it was an important piece of the puzzle.
No, that did help it. That's one of the main things that helped fighting from no one knew. Because you remember what it was. You tell people what you do, they'd be like, what? Like pro wrestling? You're trying to explain what you do? It's like embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody understood it. Nobody understood us. What would possess you to get in a cage and fight some guy?
No, like everyone trying to talk you out of it, like friends, family, and rightfully
my mom,
so.
You're going to do what?
Yeah, no, my parents weren't happy. And I understood why. Once they realized I was going to do it, they got behind it. Once I just did it anyways, But at first, they're like, yeah, you can't do this.
Yeah.
This is... But like my dad used to watch it, so it's like, it's your fault, Dad. He'd be like renting when I was in high school, he'd be renting the pay-per-view. So it's like, it's kind of your fault, really.
That's funny.
Couldn't say much.
I always wanted to box as a kid, and my mom wouldn't let me box. And I was sneaking away to the Linwood Elks Club and boxing.
That helped a lot, though. People knew you were just a wrestler, but you already had boxing.
No, this is when I was a kid. I was in junior high, and I was sneaking away to this Linwood Elks Club trying to box. And she found out about it. She's like, I'll let you play football, but you are not boxing. Yeah. Now she laughs about that.
Because football is probably just as bad, too. Yeah. You're running, smacking their heads.
Yeah. Well, there's some CTE involved in both of those sports. But
I think boxing is a lot worse than MMA. Would you agree? There's definitely
the sole goal in boxing is to punch a guy in the head.
Yeah.
We're the grappling and submissions and all the wrestling stuff. And that changes a lot. And I think that's what most boxers don't recognize. Their boxing's terrible. We would knock them out. And
we'll take you down.
You have to recognize that I can kick you, I can elbow you, I can take you down and put you on your back. That changes striking. That changes how you approach a guy that can do those other things.
Yeah. It was you that fought James Toney, right? They really hyped that
Yeah,
up.
I fought James in Boston.
That was like an easy fight for you.
I think they originally were talking to Chuck about that fight. And then they thought, man, Chuck might actually try to box with him.
And you could just make it.
And
Chuck's a good
they
wrestler,
knew I
but
wasn't
his
gonna
stubbornness
box
might have
with
made it
him.
that
I'm not
way.
that
Yeah.
silly. I'm not going to try and box him. I got nothing to prove there. I was a decent boxer and did boxed well enough to make guys wrestle me. But that was my goal.
There'd be no reason to box a world championship boxer when you're an elite wrestler.
Oh,
That'd
he
just
had
be pure
his shoulder roll left hook was as good as anybody in the sport of boxing. I mean, what did he win? 6 divisions? I mean, he was a very
I don't
good
know his
boxer.
boxing that well, but I know he was a really good boxer, and they really hyped it up when they brought him in there. I knew you were just going to smoke him. That's what's it's such a bad
I had
matchup.
to evaluate. Okay, he's got 4 months to learn MMA. How much MMA is he really going to learn in 4 months? He knows I'm going to try and take him down. He knows I'm not silly enough to try and stand and strike with him. So what's he going to try to do to counter my takedowns? Is he going to try and knee me, catch me coming in with a knee, or catch me coming in with an uppercut?
What he knows.
So I'm like, I'm going lower. I'm not going to shoot a double. I'm going to shoot a low single.
Oh, interesting.
And so I started doing that in practice. Neil Melanson, was my head coach, and we started practicing that technique, dusting off the old low single from Oklahoma State and John Smith. And against guys that had wrestling backgrounds or any grappling, it wouldn't work because they're barefoot. There's nothing to hang on to.
They can turn.
They would literally just step out of
turn
your
away or
single.
step up. Yeah, that's why it doesn't work that good.
And now you're laying down there in front of this dude. But any of the pure striking guys, which I brought a bunch of those guys in, it would work every time.
Interesting. That's good to know.
And so now I still have a question, okay, well, half the time this is working.
But half the time
and I
it
see who it's working with and who it's not working with. And then James shows up on fight night with those ankle braces on.
You're like, oh, that's going to give you a little
And
traction.
I got the biggest smile on my face because I knew exactly at that moment that it was going to work.
Difference
I had
it gives you a
friction
grip.
there. I can hang on.
Friction's huge versus able to turn. Same with like leg locks.
wrestling-
The guys would wear those. Would have those on. It's like, oh, I'm going to leg lock you easy now.
Yeah, and the dexterity in your feet. You don't have that when you're wearing a wrestling shoe.
Yeah.
But I was so used to wearing wrestling shoes, like going barefoot felt weird to me.
Yeah.
And I had to get used to that.
Did your early fights? Did you wear shoes?
I did.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
You were allowed to wear shoes, so I wore shoes
just
because that's
so
what I
used
was
to it,
used
yeah.
to. And then as slowly as I transitioned and realized, look, I got a glaring weakness here. If anybody takes me down, I'm going to do the dying cockroach. I know, I need to learn this jiu-jitsu thing and how to operate from my back and not only so that I know what they're trying to do to me and the traps they're trying to set, but also if I face another wrestler, there's a fair chance I'll get taken down.
Yeah, that it makes a big difference to hook onto that foot. They can't.
And then
turn kick.
here comes Kevin Randleman, amazing wrestler, 2-time national champ for Ohio State. I'd seen him wrestle in college. He was an amazingly athletic and strong guy.
Yeah.
That was my first fight in Atlantic City at Taj Mahal. No, second. First was Pedro. That was my second. No, I got it backwards. My first was Kevin Randleman.
Really?
Because SEG was the old owner still.
That one. Oh, so you fought that one before in the original owners.
And then I fought Pedro there. That was with Zuffa. That was my
the
second
first Zuffa
time
one,
fighting
right?
in Atlantic City.
Is that the first Zuffa show?
I think it was the first Zuffa
Second one,
show.
early ones, yeah.
First time seeing my mug on a billboard.
Yeah, they did a lot to grow the sport.
It was wild. But Kevin took me down round 1 and round 2. But the jits I'd been practicing allowed me to survive. Almost armbarred him at one point. And then I took him down in the third, and he did the dying cockroach, allowed me to climb right to mount, and the fight was over.
Yeah, because he never learned like any
He
off
hadn't
his
spent
back.
any time on his back. That was the difference in the fight.
Yeah.
Was I had been putting myself there a
And
bunch
you were
in
comfortable.
practice.
Not that you wanted to be there. You're
Yeah,
probably he wasn't.
but I
doing
knew I
any
had
big
to learn
damage,
how
if I
to be
remember
there.
correctly.
Yeah.
He wasn't landing too much heavy on you, right? It was more just kind of like light shots.
Yeah, I protected myself. I was posed a threat from the bottom that allowed me to survive those 2 rounds. And then I took him down in the third. Inside trip, took him down in the third.
Right.
And then was able to climb right to mount.
He was just done.
And
Yeah,
pound him out.
he was probably a little fatigued too.
Yeah, so explosive.
Oh, so
That guy
explosive.
could
He would
jump
just be
out of the damn
jumping
building.
up out of the cage. You see this guy,
Yeah.
he's scary.
Yeah.
We'll have a couple more questions. We'll wrap up. Let's go real quick to your gym. You opened a massive gym here in Vegas, Extreme Couture. It's one of the biggest, gyms in the world. Best, tons of fighters, UFC champs out of there, several, or have been several UFC champs out of there.
Yeah.
What made you first open that, and how involved are you today?
Well, we opened up Team Quest with Danny, Matt, and we brought in Robert because Robert was running JKD gyms in on the West Coast for Matt Thornton. We didn't know, again, I had that Performance Quest gym with Dan, and we realized very quickly we had no clue how to run a gym, of a fitness center or a business that way. We knew how to wrestle and run a practice, but we didn't know how to run the business.
Yeah.
And Robert had been doing that, and he wasn't very happy at that time with what was going on with the JKD gym. So talked to him about helping us run Team Quest, and they wanted to bring him in as just as an employee, and I'm like, no, man, I think we need to invest this guy in the business. Otherwise, we have to worry about whether this guy's going to walk off with cash,
give him a piece of it,
and all that. So make him a partner. And so I kind of browbeat him into making him a partner, and I was glad we did that. Because he did have a lot more savvy and sense about the business side of running a martial arts gym than either the three of us did. And we're still fighting.
And you were focused on fighting.
Yeah, exactly. And so we went about running the practices and all that, and he went about running most of the business, but he also became the head coach, and he was a very good tactician. He was a Tony Robbins guy, very motivational,
right?
And had been doing JKD and martial arts for most of his life. He got DF'd from the Jehovah's Witness Church, which that's part of his story, and almost ultimately part of how everything ended up with him, which was a tragedy.
Yeah, such a tragedy. I was never really close to him, but he was always super cool, and I did meet him and stuff.
But Robert was great, and he was a great coach, and he was a great motivator.
Yeah,
and to have a guy like that had imprinted himself on so many fighters to go out
by
that
the
way.
gym a couple times.
The ripple effect of that
come by
was
like, hey, can I do a workout? And he'd be like, yeah, hop in. But he was pumped to have me, and he would super motivational, super welcoming. Would have me like, show a couple things, like just like a good. Seemed like a really good guy.
Yeah, I love the guy. But that was how Team Quest started. And then, I was going through divorce in 04, 05, 06 for a couple years there. That's when I divested in Team Quest and moved to Vegas. I had keys to the Ultimate Fighter gym. So we were training in the Ultimate Fighter gym between shows, which, was a pain in the butt. When another season of the show came on, we had to go find someplace else to train. So I got tired of doing that and started looking for my own space in Vegas. And that with Kim, my wife at the time, we found this building that is Team Quest, right?
Is it still the same
Extreme
spot
Couture right now?
Was it successful right away, or did it take time to build?
It was pretty successful almost right away.
A lot of savages there.
Jay Huron, Mike Pyle. Those were the OG guys. Gray Maynard. We just started attracting this whole group of guys that were great. Helped us build the place out. Helped us spread the word. We're out there competing on a regular basis, representing the gym. So we did pretty well. We weren't certainly in the black for a few years, but we were getting along. And we were developing a good reputation.
That's important.
We had Sean Tompkins as our head coach for a long time, and then obviously Sean passed away. I brought Dennis Davis in to kind of fill that void and trying to put Dennis over. That took a while. A lot of, Dennis was a pretty good fighter from our Team Quest days, and part of that team up there kind of followed us back to Vegas when we opened here. And he wanted to bring Robert in. Robert was his mentor,
his coach.
So he literally took a cut and pay
to bring
to create the space
Not many people
for Robert to come in and be the head coach. And I think through that whole process, that legitimized Dennis in many, many ways through Robert's help and Robert's guidance. And then obviously when Robert passed,
he took over that.
Dennis has stepped up, and Eric, finding gym managers was
it's tough.
Royal pain in the butt.
You have to deal with all the fighters because it's got to be someone that can come in and
hold people accountable. Nobody wants to be held accountable.
It's hard to do it with all these fighters, but you have to run a successful gym. Someone has to be the bad guy.
And we had several different ones. I originally brought Ryan in to be the gym manager, and he was there about 4 months. He's like, "God, Dad, I'm liking this, but I really want to fight." I'm like, "All right." So he started training to fight, and we hired Pernille. she was great, way overqualified.
Yeah.
John was there before Pernille. John did a great job. He was an FBI agent, in law enforcement.
So he's very
stone cold, cut and dry.
You kinda need that
and he was the first time we were in the black with him.
Oh yeah,
because he held everybody accountable for what they were supposed to be doing.
And
then Pernille, which was Martin's wife, she had a business degree from Stanford. I mean, she was way overqualified
with a bunch of meathead fighters.
And then she got pregnant and was going to have the baby, and some of the guys were kind of hard on her.
It's hard. I think it'd be hard to be a female running like a fighter because it's so testosterone driven.
Yeah. And she took a step back when the baby was going to be due and just like, now you need to find somebody else.
Yeah.
So we opened the position up, and that's when we ended up finding Eric. And Eric had been training with us for a long time and teaching a little for us for quite a while, but I had no idea he was interested in being the gym manager. And he stepped right into that position, and that's when the
he has no problem being a bad guy, which is good, I think. He doesn't mind
and he has a great rapport with everybody. So when he says, hey, you need to do this, they're going, oh, okay, sorry, coach.
It's a very fine line to be able to have to be the bad guy for fighters. You have to be able to do it and be liked, because if you just like bark at guys, the egos of fighters are going to be like, oh, fuck you.
They're going to push back.
So it's a very, very fine line, a skill you have to learn. Well, let's close real quick on, you had a really good acting career too. I looked at your Wikipedia and didn't realize how many damn movies you've been in.
That's something, like drag racing that just fell in my lap. I never saw myself doing that. I got a call from the UFC in the early 2000s for Cradle to the Grave. And they wanted authentic cage fighters for this underground fight scene in this movie with Jet Li and DMX. And they called me, they called Chuck, and they called Tito. And all three of us said, yeah, we'll do it. And so we go to LA for a week to shoot this one little 5-minute scene in this movie. And it was this underground fighting scenes in this underground garage. Smoky, crazy, just the first time being on a film set and seeing the process. And it was overwhelming. It was super cool. But it took us a week to film that one little fight scene.
Work.
Yeah, it was like, oh my gosh. So that was kind of my first view at that whole thing. And I was immediately intrigued by it. Went out and started taking some acting classes. Eventually ended up getting an agent at Gersh, the Gersh agency, and Brett Nornsberg is my MMA agent, my only agent since I started this whole thing. And now I'm 75 feature films in.
Yeah, I looked at your filmography, and they were big old lists, and some pretty big films too, like some big legit films.
Obviously, The Expendables is probably the biggest property I'm attached
I remember looking like, wow, I didn't realize you've been in that many movies.
Scorpion King 2. I got one coming out here. I've got to go to a premiere next week in LA. That's called Pitfall. It's a horror flick coming out right before Halloween.
Yeah, good timing.
And I play the psycho.
You're the bad guy.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Do you enjoy acting a lot?
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's an interesting process. We as athletes have spent our whole lives boxing up our emotions, putting them to the side, and staying laser focused on what we train to do. Now they want me to walk in front of a camera and let all that stuff out. And I'm like, I don't know if I know how to do that.
Yeah, we know how to like hide emotion.
How do I do that?
Never show emotion. And
so the process of that is very intriguing and interesting, and something completely different. Something certainly completely different than I've ever done in my whole life.
Yeah,
but it's fun.
No, it's
especially
cool
playing bad guys like Pitfall.
I think I'd prefer to play the bad guy.
Yeah,
and you're also doing commentating.
You get to say and do stuff you would never do in real life.
You could be crazy. Yeah, you also do commentating for PFL, right?
I'm having a blast commentating. Keeps you close to the sport.
It's good to stay involved. I think
it's a great
when you step away.
Brand.
It's hard.
I think they're doing a good job.
Yeah, they're paying fighters
pretty well, giving the fighters a bit of a voice in how they're regulated, and some of the things they're doing I really like.
UFC guys.
They changed the format this season to that single elimination world tournament. We had 25 countries involved this year. The finals were in August. So we'll start up again in April, but they've launched their pay-per-view model now. They just had that Usman Hughes rematch. PFL Europe's doing very, very well.
It's truly global now, too. The
PFL
whole MMA in general is global
PFL
now.
Middle East, North Africa is doing very, very well. I think you're going to see Australia.
They could hit some of the other markets because UFC's done a great job of capturing America, but they could hit these other markets a lot better, probably.
Yeah, Europe is doing great. You got one coming up this month in Lyon.
Wow, there's so many good fighters out of Europe now.
Nemkov and Pereira Renan Ferreira are fighting in that final.
Oh, nice.
And Cyborg is going to be on that card as
cool.
well. So there's some very good fights on that
PFL
card.
has a lot of really good fighters.
They're doing very, very well. Obviously, last year we bought Bellator and absorbed Bellator.
Yeah, that was a big purchase.
Going through some growing pains after that. You know,
No,
that was a big purchase for them.
Big
and
purchase,
a lot of
added them
fighters
a lot
to
of
deal
fighters.
with.
So then they
and,
had a lot of trying to
and
keep
some of those
people
guys
fighting.
didn't get handled quite the way they wanted to get handled, which caused a little bit of a rhubarb. But I think the dust has settled on that now. And again, the pay-per-view model is kind of filling that void with some like Nemkov and some of these Bellator fighters that are great names. They're great fighters.
Yeah.
So they were fortunate to pick those guys up.
That was a lot of fighters they picked up.
Absorb that brand.
I think that was tough, that transition. They bought it,
It's
and
like
they're like, well, we have a lot of
215
fighters.
and you know, getting all
And
those
then everyone's
contracts.
wanting fights. So
Exactly.
Like, oh, what do we do? And some of
Exactly.
those guys are getting paid good too. I know some of those
Yeah.
guys' contracts were pretty damn good. And
Yeah.
then they're looking at that being like, oh, I don't know if I want to pay that contract. Well, anything to close with, where people can find you? And
Obviously, if I'm here in Vegas, I'm at Extreme Couture MMA almost every day. You can find me on all the social media platforms. XC Natch on Instagram. Randy the Natural Couture on Facebook is the fan page.
Yep.
Randy _ Couture on X.
Okay.
I don't have TikTok. I don't do that
I'm
one.
like too old for TikTok. I try to get on there. I'm like, I don't quite understand it.
But all the other ones I have.
No, I get to you making TikToks.
And I do a bunch of that myself. You know, Scott, my IT guy and guy in my corporate office helps me with some of it, but because I'm not very tech savvy.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Me and tech is an episode of Planet of the Apes. It's not very fun, but I've learned and I'm doing a lot of that. But he helps me with that a bunch.
Yeah. Well, man, thanks for coming in. I would love to work some dirty boxing with you over at Extreme one of these times. That
Yeah.
whole system you did.
Yeah, man,
Do you have
I would
that
love to do
systemized
that.
down pretty good, or
I
is it
would
more
love to do
something
that.
you did off nature, or do you have it systemized pretty good?
I have a system that, you know, me, Dan, and Matt, we're all Greco guys. Chael Sonnen, Greco guy. You know, I think that of all the wrestling styles, that's one of the styles that translates to fighting because of the upright posture.
All the clinching
very,
and
very
stuff,
well.
yeah.
Now I can touch your legs. I can grab your legs to take you down and to control you. And because in Greco, that's not allowed. All the holds take place from the waist up. So that would be fun. I would love to do that.
Well, thanks so much for coming
Pleasure,
in.
Jake.
Thank you. Awesome. Thanks. Hey guys, Jake Shields here. As you know, a lot of my guests are extremely controversial. So if you want to support free speech and my podcast, go to fightbackpodcast.com.